This year, it's been 25 years since Mordheim was released. The year is almost over, and as far as I'm aware, there's been no special mentions by Games Workshop, which might not be very strange. I mean, it's a game that's been officially dead for several years, but unofficially, the game seems to be going quite strong. And Games Workshop does like to make money, like any other company. And I believe that there is a space where both players and retailers could benefit from a small celebration. Mordheim is in essence three things: rules, miniatures, and terrain. Let's start backwards with terrain. If you play something like the Old World, it is fine to pay a hefty amount of money for something when you only need a few pieces. But the joy of Mordheim is to have an entire 4x4 board full of stuff. I simply do not think that there is, a good cost to sales ratio when it comes to terrain. Especially when it's so fun to build yourself. I even think, the do-it-yourself terrain building part is an actual reason why the game still thrives. So I don't think there is a reason for Games Workshop to try to re-release the terrain. Then let's jump to rules. Mordheim is often mentioned as the best game Games Workshop has ever done. Which seems a bit strange if you look at how many people that actually play the game. But I think we mix things up here. I frankly think that the rules are more influential than they're good. Let's just face it, the rules are a bit dated. But that does not stop the book from being highly influential. I love Mordheim, but I have never played the game. Nor do I really intend to do. I mean, it would be fun to try a game just to see it in actual action. But the idea of treasure hunting in a derelict city is, spot on as a setting for a skirmish game. As far as I'm aware, Mordheim was the first, and as such, there was no collective experience of writing such a game. I would say that you in many ways can tell that Mordheim is based on Warhammer Fantasy, and therefore includes a lot of things that would be, kind of unnecessary. Where the collective since then have found better ways to solve things if you just play skirmish. For example, me and my friend, we have written our own sort of Mordheim clone, Ymborg. But we started out stealing the basics from Kill Team. Since then, Ymborg has evolved quite far from Kill Team. Combat dice works quite different to give a bit more flexibility and allow some armor in close combat. And the game is actually 3D rather than 2D on multiple planes. But the point is that there is a set of common used basics where we could start. Those were not available when Mordheim was released, and we have Mordheim to thank for their existence. So why do I bother to talk about all of this stuff? It is to say the next sentence. I think that Games Workshop should re-release the Mordheim rulebook as a made-to-order physical book. You can get the PDF for free. Not from Games Workshop themselves, but they seem to make no attempts to kill it either. But as such, it has no illustrations, except for some, a few sketches for explaining rules. I assume that this somehow is connected to the artwork belonging to Games Workshop and that they don't want it in a PDF. The rules are okay, but the real influence comes from the artwork. That needs to be available for people. And the made to order will guarantee that Games Workshop will not sit on unsold copies of something. And compared to miniatures, it should not be very hard to find someone able to print a certain number of books in 6 months. If I'm just mistaken and there is no issue with the illustrations in a PDF, just release the PDF for free, or almost free, to promote selling miniatures. They can still do the physical made to order for the fans. And this also makes for a nice bridge to the miniatures. Putting up an entire new line of miniatures is probably not an alternative for a dead game. Even putting an entire line of old miniatures is probably not an alternative for something with a minimal backing. Fortunately, a lot of the original 6 warbands still exist in one form or another. Like Skaven, where many of the miniatures are still around, and those that are not have more modern replacements. There are currently no troubles building a Skaven warband from available miniatures. The same can pretty much be said about Cults of the Possessed, Undead, and Mercenaries. Especially the Mercenaries. If you look beyond, bespoke miniatures, they can be any humans. That is quite broad. But on the other hand, we do know that we'll re-release the Empire Militia next year, anyway. If they've already dusted off the old masters, it should be good, cost to benefit ratio to make them available a bit earlier to claim that they care about the Mordheim fans. Then there are the last 2 factions, Witch Hunters and Sisters of Sigmar. When the Empire gets re-released into the old world, it will probably not be, hard to build a Witch Hunter warband, so it would probably be a bit of an overkill to release them separately. At least if you can live with, high fantasy Witch Hunters. But of course, on the other hand, re-releasing a few warrior priests early, like the militia, would probably not be too much hard work. Anyway, if they would re-release something, it should be the Sisters of Sigmar. They are the hardest to substitute, they have a limited lineup, and they have a very strong association to Mordheim. Making the book available and re-release the Sisters would make for a great small self-contained celebration, at least in my view. But there's also one more option. The Hired Guns and Dramatis Personae, however you pronounce that. I'm a bit uncertain as to how many different sculpts there were available, but there were 11 different units. And I think these would be an excellent subject for made to order. On miniatures, it must be noted that, just like the terrain, a lot of the fun in Mordheim is to kit bash and bring whatever you fancy to the table. And I believe this is a major part of the game still going strong. In my view, it is the artwork and the kit bashing that keep it alive. But I still think there is a market for old timers like myself who actually enjoy the old sculpts. The major issue with them is that they often are very two-dimensional. The ultimate treat in my world would be if they remodeled some of the miniatures to be fully 3D. But if they in any way touch them, they would probably also make them, World of Warcraft high fantasy, which I assume sells better, and then you sort of lose the connection to Mordheim, which Thomas himself explicitly states is not high fantasy. That last part is why I don't hope for a release of Mordheim 2.0. Let Mordheim be what it is, but it would be nice to see a small celebration. Pre-release the Empire Militia, the book and some special characters as made to order, perhaps the Sisters as well. Grab some money while at the same time making the fan base happy, If that's too much, just made to order the special characters or something. That would be, a nice gesture. The year is not over, but I have very small hopes of any of this actually materializing. But I just had these thoughts for quite a while, and finally just got inspired to actually put them into a video. And that is my main goal, and it should be yours as well, Don't forget to enjoy your hobby.